This one, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I always like these behind-the-scenes sort of things. So in the files of the official guide,
Yes.
which
have been mined.
yes, have
Don't
been mined.
do
mind,
that,
Don't mind files.
please.
Don't enjoy that. There was an unused crystal, which I think prior to even the official guide, people knew about this.
Yes.
Unused crystal, and it's not just unused crystal.
Right.
But for the dots, that's a blue recolor
Pyrosite.
called Krystillium.
Krystillium. I know you're looking at it from a great distance. Yes.
What was the purpose? How was this obtained?
Well.
I mean, how was it obtained? I'm sure it was somewhat another.
Well, okay. Maybe because I'm also seeing in our document that there is some interest in doing another reading. Story time. I'm going to connect this question to something interesting that's happening here. Okay. So we talked about the very beginning of the monster world. Over time, the prehistoric clangor echoing throughout the monster world subsided, and silence once more, thank you, overtook the dimension. Time passes. Softly at first, then unmistakably, the deep, sonorous voices of the colossals came to be heard. These gigantic, disembodied spirits were divinely inspired to harness the power of creation and make the monster world a richer place. The colossals marveled at the world that lay before them, specifically the elemental affiliations of the itinerant celestials. However, they also saw a mostly blank and, most importantly, a silent canvas that they could shape to their liking. The first task that the colossals set out to accomplish was to teach the 12 celestials to sing. So the colossals taught the celestials to sing. Each was taught to perform music in a voice or style unique to them. Thus, the celestials became officially the first singing monsters. The first singing monsters. To give the celestials a place to gather and sing together in harmony, the colossals created Starhenge, an intricate piece of clockwork that hung in the sky and connected them both to the stars above and to their elements. Bolstered by their success with the celestials, the colossals turned their attention to the creation of a whole world that could combine the influences of nature and music. Okay, here we go. Before they committed to establishing a full world, the colossals accessed a pocket dimension to serve as a sandbox for their creative experimentation. Here, they laid the groundwork for what would one day become, drum roll please, Ethereal Island. Ethereal Island and its ethereal denizens. In its earliest days, it was closed off to interdimensional travel. The sandbox, the pocket dimension was closed off. No interdimensional travel. The colossals first experimented with the animation of inanimate matter into living beings. A series of statues crafted from bubblerite, a mineral native to the monster world, were created and installed on the proto-ethereal island. If exposed to the spark of life, a power that was possessed of the colossals, but later sort of refined in the sort of move set, if you want to call it that, of the element of electricity, these statues had the potential to turn from these bubblerite statues into living, breathing monsters. Now we know that the innovation of the spark of life phenomenon would figure prominently in the creation and reanimation of singing monsters in the future. Namely, of course, Wubbox would take this same spark of life. It's hard to call it a technology. It's more of like a magical process. It's like alchemy. It took this process of the spark of life and then applied it towards the development of the Wublins. And we do know that the spark of life is also integral to the revival of the Celestials on Celestial Island. Now, this is a lot of interesting stuff, of course. How does this relate to the topic of Krystillium? Well, I'm happy to let you know that Krystillium was a product of interactions with bubblerite in the pocket dimension
I think it's, you can take a look at the special rules. It says.
And of course,
Special order card copies.
it looks a lot like pyrosite. And so, after the experimentation in the pocket dimension was complete, the Colossals turned their attention once again to the main dimension of the monster world. And so, using Krystillium as the template upon which to create things in the prime dimension, in the main reality of the monster world, that's why Krystillium and pyrosite are identical in appearance, because Krystillium is the proto-pyrosite.
Well, that makes sense.
And Krystillium can be said to be the official crystal of the pocket dimension, which is fitting, of course, because crystal, one of the foundational elements of Ethereal Island and the pocket dimension. So I thought that that stuff was very interesting. Now, of course, we can't confirm this, but it's also my guess that the series of bubblerite statuettes that were created on that proto-ethereal island are the very same that were later encountered during our pocket dial promotional video to advertise the release of Magical Sanctum in that ethereal meadow. I think they are one and the same.
It's Galaxy Bridge.
Very curious stuff.
I